it's great to meet you. Thank you for taking a minute out today. I appreciate it.
No, I'm glad to be here with you, Joe.
So let's begin our conversation with, you know, the one thing that really kind of changed the course of things and what you're doing and in general was living through this pandemic. It really shifted so many things for everybody in the planet. So I'm curious, how did that time period affect your business and what you're doing now? Did you see a big shift?
No, I retired shortly before that pandemic, the pandemic happened. And so I didn't have to go out to work, and that didn't bother me at all. I decided, well, I had a heart attack a couple of years ago, which uh, I had written the book a few years ago. So when I had the heart attack, I thought, well, if I'm ever going to get this done, I'm going to get it done. It is the largest tarot spread there is. The Gypsy Tarot card uses 42 cards at a time. You can start with less lines, 3 cards at a time if you want, or just do the 1 card pulls like I do on several Facebook channels. Hmm, sorry about that.
Yeah, you're
They're
fine.
pretty chirpy this morning.
It's all good. So no, go ahead. You're good.
Okay, so 42 cards is an overwhelming amount of cards to start off with. And but you know what? It's so worth it to learn, even if you do 21 cards at a time, past, present, and future, it's so worth it to do it for yourself. And I see so many troubled people on the internet when I do these 1 card pulls for people. I do between 50 and 100 a day. And they give me feedback about what's happening to them. Sometimes they tell me, well, that doesn't sound like me. And I remind them that it doesn't necessarily have to be about them. It can be somebody that they're very concerned about. Oh, do you know what an empath is?
Yes.
Okay, so for your listeners, they might not know what an empath is. I'm an empath. I can feel somebody's anger, somebody's happiness, somebody's frustration. Um, it affects me just like it would affect somebody else. And I have to stop lots of times and go, why am I feeling angry? I don't have anything to be angry about, and have to try and figure out who's making me angry. And a lot of these people, they don't consider that when they're looking at the card, they think it should be about them and only them.
Right.
So I've discovered an awful lot of empaths uh, since I started doing this. A lot of people are starting to read. A lot of people have bought my book with a purpose of learning to read tarot cards, not only for themselves, but for other people as well. Now, why would you read tarot cards for yourself? Well, you might be troubled. You might want to figure out some things for yourself, and you know that's fair. That's the way I started, and I recorded every single time I read cards. I recorded it somewhere. When I read others, I recorded it somewhere, and I went from that to all this information to, oh, why not write a book?
Yeah.
And so I redefined all the card meanings for the Rider Waite deck and went from there. So people can now do it for themselves, and I would highly recommend them doing that.
So there's a lot of aspects to who you are and what you do, but to simplify it to a certain degree and make it understandable, I want to put you in front of a bunch of grade school kids at career day. And one of the kids is curious about what you do, and they're like, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" How would you answer that child?
What do I do for a living? I would first explain that there's spirits all around, and that in their little heads, they have a little voice inside them, something that tells them that something is bad and something is good. And if they can figure out what that voice is telling them and always be connected to it, that's their spirit telling them what to do. Now, I help people get back into the position where um, they listen to their voices once again. I think trauma causes people not to listen to their inner voice anymore. And I think that through the cards, people can reconnect with their spirits. I do have a couple of videos on YouTube on how to relax and do certain things and what to do to get get themselves reconnected with their spirits. And particular, particularly spirits that of people that have passed away. I did a huge study on that in the mid 90s. I don't know how they found me on the internet, but they did. They managed to. And it was looking up to see. I did a study on whether or not the spirits were showing up in the tarot cards, and not only did they show up in the tarot cards, but they showed up and gave me visions. That's called channeling. And that was the most satisfying time of my life to be able to help people reconnect with people that had passed away. Now, there's two different kinds of spirits. There's um, those that your spirit guides, or your spirit guides are people that have once walked the earth that you would know, and the other ones, your angels, guardian angels, are assigned to you at birth. And apparently you can have any number of angels guarding you all the time. I'm sure that when I went through my drinking stage in life, that they were holding their heads all the time. I was a pretty bad I wasn't bad, but no, it was bad. Anyway, um, no, okay, so anyway, getting back to your question about the kids, I would say, no, you know that little voice inside your head? Always be connected to it, because
Yeah,
those are your spirits telling you what you should be doing and what you shouldn't be doing. If you listen to your spirits, Joe, you will have a better life.
yeah.
If something tells you don't do that, do this instead, and you listen to it and you do what your little voice tells you to do, you're going to have a better life.
Yeah.
And it just goes on from there.
So, what did you want to be when you were a child? When you were, say, in the third grade, what was your dream?
You know what? That's a tough question, because you know what? I didn't want to be anything.
Yeah,
I had a tough childhood.
yeah,
I had an abusive mother. My father was in the military and was away a lot, so that gave her a lot of chance to. And I didn't take the worst of it, the abuse. My two older sisters did. I just kind of hid all the time. So as far as aspirations were concerned, I had none really. And I didn't even have any when I graduated from school. Aside from doing a lot of artwork, which they didn't criticize artwork. So I did that, and I'm an artist too. So
So, how did you discover this talent, this ability to see spirits, to see the other side, and to help
I
people
think
connect?
I think through my childhood and my abusive childhood, like I'd have to walk through the house, into the house, and I'd have to say, okay, now what is my mother thinking or feeling at the moment? Am I, going to be under some wrath for any kind of a bizarre reason? And because that was the training that I went through. When somebody I was 25 when somebody put a deck of tarot cards in my hand. I went, I could do this, and I did it.
Yeah.
It was pretty easy for me.
So, what was the first moment for you that you ran into the other side, the spirits, the guardian angels? What was that moment like for you?
Oh, you have no idea how satisfying that was. When you make a connection with your guardian angels, um, first there's a tingling that occurs, and but when you let them in, you can feel unconditional love, and there's no feeling in the world like this unconditional love. Um, you're just enveloped in pureness and light and happiness and joy, everything all at the same time. And that's what I want people to get used to doing. If they get used to that, if they learn how to reach their spirits and they get used to that, the world would be a much different place if they just listen to, when you're under that kind of a trance, you can ask them questions, they'll give you answers. And you can trust your spirits. They're only going to tell you what's good for you. They're not gonna, well, they will tell you what's bad for you too, but that you need to change. But just that feeling. One of my first experiences of knowing that there was actually a spirit around was my real mother died when I was a year and a half old. I think I was about 30, not quite 30. Um, I had a friend over who was pregnant, and you take a ring and you put a thread through it and you
Yeah.
hold it over the belly,
Yeah.
and it swings one way and swings the other way. It's supposed to be a boy or girl, whatever.
Yeah.
Well, we did that. Um, and the girl who was holding the string just looked at me and went, "Oh my God." And I went, "What? What is it?" She goes, "Look." And the string went straight through the ring without touching the ring.
Wow.
And she gave it to me, and it was my mother's engagement ring, my
Wow.
real mother's engagement ring. And
Wow.
I did the same thing. I held it up and it just pulled my hand down and did the same thing, looped through the ring without touching the ring at all. So I knew she was with me.
Yeah.
Just something that I recently learned was I don't get very nervous when I'm on a stage. I did some stage work when I was in high school, and I never got nervous. It didn't bother me. And I'm not nervous talking to you either. And that's because she's with me.
Yeah.
She's okay. She's on my shoulders, helping me out here.
Yeah. So, who's been kind of a inspiration for you in your work? Is there somebody that you're inspired by that helps you do your work?
No, my spirits. That's
Yeah.
all I can say. My whole family supports me. My dad told me when he was still alive that apparently my grandmother read tarot cards, and she didn't read them a lot, or she wasn't vocal about it. And I didn't know that about her, but apparently she did. Um, so maybe she was a little, I don't like the word psychic, but she was a little bit of a medium maybe, and she felt her spirits as strongly as what I did. She was a wonderful person. So, um, she could have been an inspiration to me. Maybe my mother, as a spirit, my real mother as a spirit,
Sure.
wanting to protect us.
Yeah.
And I don't think anybody feels the spirits in my family like I do.
Yeah.
But they all trust that I do. They don't question it at all.
So, how do you keep everything in balance between this world and the spirit world? Not getting too heavy and deep into one or the other. Is there a balancing act that you have to play?
Yeah, well, that's a good question. Um, when I was doing the readings and the channelings in the mid 90s, I think I got a little into it, a little heavy. I wanted to be there all of the time because it's such a nice place to be. There was a woman who I was reading for whose child had been handicapped here on Earth. I put them in touch with one another. They passed messages back and forth. Yes, Mom, I'm okay now. I'm not handicapped. Come with me, Mom. I put them in contact. And the last time I saw them, they were sliding down rainbows and running around having a great time. What an honor to be a part of that. But at some point, it was cut off. I heard the distinct voice, "It's time to get out in the real world." Um, so now what was your question?
It was just finding that balance between the spirit world and the real world.
The balance. I think I was so involved with that, and it was so satisfying that they booted me out for a little bit.
Yeah.
I had to, I had to learn to live a real life. Um, Sad, but
Right.
that's the way it is, right? If they
Yeah.
take it away from you for a little while, it's meant to be.
So for anyone out there that's curious about having a tarot, having a reading and seeing what's possible, how would you urge them to do it? There might be skeptics, there might be people that don't understand it, but how would you demystify the process to lead people to do that?
Well, first of all, I think that the route that everyone should take is to try and reach the spirits, and that's why I created uh, the video that I did. It's like a meditation video. You get deep into meditation, and then when you feel yourself kind of floating, that's when you know, and tingling, when you feel the tingling, that's when you know your spirits are with you. You pass through a doorway. With me, it's an arch, a flowered arch, because I love flowers. And you end up in a place, and it can be any place, your happy place, not my happy. Everybody's happy place is different. And um, you connect with them, you talk to them, and you have to always remember to thank them for their information, because they're like anything else. They like to know that they're appreciated.
Yeah. So, of all of these clients that you've had, everyone that you've helped, all of this work that you've done, what are you the proudest of? What stands out for you?
I think the channeling stands out to me more than anything. I'm trying to do a little bit more of that. Lately, I was reading somebody's Facebook post, and I knew her husband had passed away from cancer, and I knew him, I knew her, I knew him probably better than her. But the minute I read the fact that he had passed, I got this giant shiver. So I knew his spirit was with me, which is really odd because normally you wait for a while before a spirit contacts you. And I messaged her and I said, "We need to get together. You need to come over and spend some time with me. He's got messages for you." But the message that he gave me right away was decorate for Christmas. And apparently, just before he passed away, she said, "I don't think I'll be able to decorate for Christmas," but he wanted to make her laugh. So that's what he come up with. So, that sort of thing uh, makes me happy to be able to put people in connection, connect with people one last time, if that's all it takes, a last hug. Um, there's not much closure because she got a chance to get closure as he was passing, but lots of people don't get that chance. They don't, in the case of a car accident, for instance, they don't get that chance for
Yeah.
closure. And when I can give them that little last chance, or get that little last hug that they need, and they know that their loved one is okay with what happened. They might be out of the drugs now. They might be they're in a much better place. And that sounds harsh, but they are in a much better place.
You're dealing with a lot of heavy stuff between this world and that world and very big life decisions and relationships, as you've just mentioned. So, in your estimation of being in this human condition that we're all in, but seeing the other side, which most of us don't, what have you garnered is like the meaning of this life that we have down here?
Service to mankind.
Yeah,
Everybody should be in service. Um, let's take Christmas, for instance. That's the reason there's a Santa Claus, because you can do something or get something for someone, and not, say it's from Santa Claus, and never have to, expect a thank you for it. It's the same thing.
yeah.
I don't expect people to say thank you. I don't expect them to call me all night kinds of nice names. I don't do that for that reason. I do that because I want to see them happy. Simple as that. I
Yeah.
want to see them happy.
So at the end of the day, everyone out there has a perception of you. Your family, your friends, clients, the spirit world, everyone and everything. But you are in control of your life. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
Well, you know that there's different ways of viewing yourself. There's there's what you want to be, what you actually are, and what other people perceive you to be.
Yeah,
And I want people to perceive me the way I really am, which is difficult for me because I don't go out much, and until the last year, I haven't really shared with a whole lot of people that I do this. A lot of people are really surprised that I do this, but it's no mystery to me. This is
yeah,
who I am. Get to know me.
yeah. So if anyone wants to get your books or they want a reading, they want to reach out, they're interested, they're piqued by what we've talked about, what is the best way to get in touch and to do all of that?
Uh, well, they can contact me. Just look up Linda Drummond, author, on Facebook, and they'll find my author site. And that's a starting point. It'll have my link for um, getting it to the group page where they can get the one card pulls. They can get to my website through there. They can find me, find different ways to reach me. And if they're on Facebook, they're always welcome to message me and ask me questions or make that connection. I'm completely open to it. I've been helping people every now and then. They have a special problem, and I follow and I'm interested, and I don't let it go until I know that they're going to be okay. Last one was there was a lady from Wisconsin whose husband has cut her off financially. Did you know there's 13 states in the US that do not recognize common law of marriage?
Wow.
When that marriage is over, he walks with everything.
Wow.
That's sad.
Yeah.
And she doesn't know what she's going to do. He won't even allow her to take things for his two kids.
Wow.
So I've been supporting her, you know, just giving her a shoulder to lean on and encouraging her to do what she has to do.
Yeah. So it's weird. About 5 minutes in, the birds just got quiet.
Yeah,
They're not flying or doing anything. They were very loud in the beginning. It's pretty interesting. They got calmed down.
yeah, they did. Which
Yeah.
is sometimes they just hear my voice on the computer or I'm talking and they want
Yeah.
to me,
Yeah.
and after a little while they go, oh, she's boring.
Yeah, my dad used to have a lot of birds in cages, and I love birds. I've always enjoyed watching them, and I pay attention to them. So I
Minor characters, I'll tell you.
yeah, no, they're good. They're good to have around. That's for
And they're
sure.
free flying. I never put them in a cage, not
Oh,
even at time.
wow, that's wonderful. That's cool. Linda, this has been fascinating. Thank you for your story. Thank you for your time. I will make sure to have links to show people over to your services and your books. So thank you. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Joe, for having me, and you have a
Absolutely.
day,
You
okay?
too. Thank you. Take care.